Basic canoeing technique. Canoeing is a cyclical sport, meaning the movement is repeated over and over. Within the paddling cycle, we can highlight two phases, the aerial phase and the aquatic phase. The aquatic phase begins when the paddle enters the water, and its objective is to give the boat speed. For analysis, it is usually divided into three sub-phases: attack, pull, and exit. The aerial phase is when the paddle is not in contact with the water and therefore is not propelling the boat, so it should be as short as possible. In this phase, the paddle is brought into the attack position. We can also differentiate two sub-phases in this phase: return and aerial attack. Basic position. In the basic canoeing position, the paddler has one knee resting on a knee block or knee pad, the supporting leg, and the other leg forward, the steering leg, with the hip and knee flexed and the foot resting on the grate. The canoeist will always paddle on the side of the supporting knee, without changing sides. The canoeist must keep the supporting knee, hip, and head on the same vertical line. This allows them to maintain an upright torso and a forward gaze. Regarding the steering foot, it's important to note that there is a slight shift in the center of thrust. Side. Opposite paddling. The attack phase begins when the blade is furthest from the paddler and ends when it fully enters the water. Its purpose is to achieve a proper and efficient entry of the blade. The steering arm is semi-extended above the head. The pushing arm is also extended forward, parallel to the water's surface, aiming for the longest possible stroke. The torso is inclined forward due to a hip flexion of between 40 and 45 degrees and rotated 20 to 30 degrees toward the side of the supporting knee, maintaining alignment with the supporting knee, head, and steering arm. Coordinating the flexion and rotation of the torso is of utmost importance. The supporting knee is slightly in front of the steering foot and the thigh is horizontal, parallel to the water's surface. The paddle descends and moves forward, and therefore, the paddler's center of gravity does the same. Pull. Begins when the blade is fully submerged and ends when the paddler is about to emerge. The objective of the pull is to transfer the greatest possible speed to the canoe, using the submerged blade as a point of support. To achieve this, it is essential to keep the paddle vertical throughout the pull and to have the body weight over the blade and the supporting knee. The vertical blade moves backward and downward, reaching an angle of 45 to 50 degrees to the horizontal at the end. The arms maintain the verticality of the paddle at the beginning and finish behind the steering leg. The pull causes a loss of continuity between the knee, hip, and paddling shoulder. The boat accelerates more in the first two-thirds of the support phase, called icering. Power is transmitted through the front leg and knee. The hips move forward before the paddle leaves the water. Pull, mid-stroke. Paddle at 90 degrees to the water's surface. Lower arm extended and close to the water. Upper arm maintains its position above the head. Torso elevated and shoulders rotated to the paddling side. Hip rotation begins to the opposite side of the paddling stroke. Legs begin to move backward. Pull, final stroke. The paddle is positioned between 90 and 100 degrees to the water. The lower arm is semi-extended and behind the front knee. The torso, semi-extended and externally rotated, continues, pulling in coordination with the pushing arm. Hip rotation and forward movement. The legs begin to move forward due to the action of the hips, which transmit this thrust to the boat. Trajectory of body segments. The paddle is drawn in until it reaches perpendicularity. The arms follow a downward trajectory. From the start of the pull, the torso also rises and rotates backward toward the paddling side. The hips first move backward and then rotate and move forward until they are aligned. The front leg moves from 90 to 120 degrees, and the supporting thigh from 120 to 130 degrees to 90 degrees at the exit. This phase begins when the paddle is ready to leave the water with the aim of quickly extracting it, avoiding loss of time and, therefore, of the boat's speed, by positioning the paddler to minimize the body's movement. The paddle follows an upward and outward trajectory, rotating outwards during the repulse, which will allow the blade to exit on its edge. The paddle's trajectory will follow the shortest path. The steering arm descends, and the pull arm flexes at the elbow and begins an upward trajectory. The torso rises slightly more, allowing forward movement and rotation of the hips. The front leg returns to the base position between 100 and 110 degrees, and the supporting thigh moves from 100 to 110 degrees. The shoulder begins to project forward. Return. This phase begins when the paddle is out of the water and its objective is to bring the paddle to the attack position as quickly as possible, achieving a good position. This phase does not generate propulsion, and prolonging it will decelerate the canoe. It should be performed with a coordinated movement of the body segments to avoid negative reactions, aiming for a broad forward displacement of these segments. The position of the paddle varies throughout the phase. It exits the water edge on and, when preparing for the attack, is perpendicular. The paddle's trajectory is straight and slightly upward. The steering arm extends forward toward the paddling side, rising above the head. The pulling arm extends straight upward and forward. The torso increases its rotation, and the ventral flexion and shoulder rotation begin. This forward movement, along with the hips, causes a 20 to 25 centimeters shift in the center of gravity. The front leg advances until it is perpendicular to the water, 90 degrees, and the supporting leg shifts to 120 to 130 degrees.